Sea of Tranquility is a 2022 novel by the Canadian author Emily St. John Mandel. Mandel was born in British Columbia in 1979. She was homeschooled until the age of 15 and at 18 went to Toronto to study contemporary dance. She became a staff writer for an online literary magazine and she began writing her first novel in Montreal in 2002. Sea of Tranquility is her sixth and most recent novel. Superficially, it's a science fiction story. There's been a recurring breach in the space-time continuum, which first manifests itself in the year 1912, then twice more, once in the 21st century, then again in the 23rd. Sometime later, time travel's invented, but the government severely restricts its use, since excursions into the past can have serious consequences for the present. The weird thing is that all such trouble, however sensitively managed, ought to have consequences, but it doesn't. The timeline always mysteriously repairs itself. This persuades the scientists at the Time Institute that the universe might be a simulation. The discovery of the 1912 breach gives them a chance to investigate, so they send a specially trained detective into the past with instructions to interview the individuals who experienced it. One of whom, Olive Llewellyn, is a novelist and, according to many critics, based on Mandel herself. It's quite difficult to do anything new with time travel, and the detective, a man called Gaspard Jacques Roberts, is well-intentioned but not particularly bright, something Mandel doesn't try to hide. His far more intelligent sister, Zoe, works at the Time Institute, but she's grown to hate it. She does everything she can to discourage her brother, but he's too excited about going back in time to listen. As soon as he does, he blunders, and in exactly the way she anticipated. The reader might well think she'd have made a better protagonist. As a piece of speculative fiction, Sea of Tranquility leaves something to be desired. If definitive proof emerges that we're living in a simulation, Gaspard Jacques thinks towards the end, the correct response to that news will be so what? Which might suggest that the strengths of this book lie elsewhere, because more speculative responses would be to wonder what's on the other side, whether we can get there, and how far we're being manipulated. In fact, it's best read as a novel about community, family, and belonging. Mandel wrote it during the COVID lockdown, and Olive Llewellyn, the novelist character she's supposedly based on herself, is also living through a pandemic. Gaspard Jacques, in an act of spontaneous altruism, saves her from certain death. His sister then saves him. In scene after scene, across vast expanses of time and space, we're reminded of the value of human kindness and the need we have, even when we can't see it, of other people. For example, reminiscing about a long book tour Olive Llewellyn undertook before our society went into lockdown, we are told that there were always too many faces, and most of them were kind, but all of them were the wrong faces, because after a few days on the road, the only people Olive wanted to see were her daughter and her husband. But when the world shrank to the size of the interior of the apartment and to a population of 3, the people were what she missed. I suppose all the best science or speculative fiction is really about something else in the end. However, I still don't know whether it's possible anymore to write a good novel about someone time travelling into the past. My feeling is that the logical paradoxes will always grab the centre stage position, the very place you want your characters to be, and that interest-wise you'll always be left trailing in the wake of the Back to the Future movies. But I may be wrong.